What's up, YouTube? I really hope you're having a good day. If you're watching this, it's a beautiful day out here. This video is gonna be a very heavy topic, definitely more on the philosophical side of things, which has a lot to do with fitness in my opinion. If you found this video, I really hope it helps you out in any way and is able to change your mentality if you're in a bad place. But without further ado, let's get to it. So I would say it's sort of safe to say that the world isn't exactly in the best place right now. In a lot of aspects, that's true, at least in my opinion. I also sort of feel like the younger generation, specifically Gen Z, is really kind of shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to the potential in life. And while you can say that's more of an individual problem, like, you know, if someone's really falling behind in life and everything's sort of a mess, you could say that's, you know, their problem, their issue, and not so much a reflection on the generation. But as someone who's young myself, I'm 23, right? So of course I'm Gen Z. I'm really starting to see that it's more so like a generational virus. It's kind of like everyone that's young is suffering from very similar problems and just kind of making very similar mistakes. What do I mean by that? So there's really lots of things that contribute to this sort of, I don't want to say depression, because I'm not necessarily gonna blame it on depression, right? Let's just say a lot of elements in today's society, okay, are really kind of devastating the mental health of the younger generation, okay? In a way that we haven't seen the consequences of before in our history as like a species, right? Because social media is only so new. And I think the consequences that we're gonna see, okay, are gonna be extremely dire. And it's starting to get to the point where if we don't make some sort of change now, if we don't turn this around, the consequences are gonna be permanent. You're gonna see a whole generation jobless, devoid of any passion, of any soul, without purpose really. And that's just gonna tear you alive from the inside if you have no purpose, because that's really what it comes down to. Having a family, okay, very basic things. That's enough to give someone purpose, to have a job that's gonna be able to support a family, or even if they didn't have a family, have a job that gives them the ability to access new things in life that they wanna pursue. Whether that's like an activity, a hobby, whatever it may be, a passion project, or maybe just to, you know, go to more social events so they can meet people, because ultimately humans are social creatures, and isolation is sort of like the opposite of what you should be doing as a human. Meeting people that have similar interests as you is going to do a lot for your mental health. But unfortunately, a lot of the things that I just mentioned that used to be pillars of giving a person purpose and finding fulfillment are just non-existent now. They're gone. You know, and a lot of this isn't necessarily to blame on one thing, okay? Social media, you know, it's done so much division amongst, like, you know, between the genders, between different demographics, and it makes people, especially at the younger age, like tie so much to their ego and their identity, right? Whatever their race may be, whatever cultural movement they may be a part of, who knows? And that feeds into their ego so much that they feel like they feel like they have to hold on to that group or that identity so much, and they can't associate themselves with anyone else who's not a part of that group. I don't really want to get political, but you see what I'm referring to. So that's just one example. And I also feel like social media has driven genders so far apart from each other in a way that's starting to be very consequential. You're gonna see that in society. But the biggest problem with my generation, okay, is lots of young people out here, they have no goals, and they don't even, it's honestly worse than that, because it's not that they don't just have no goals, they have no desire to have any goals. And that's a setup for a depression that's gonna wither away at you until there's really nothing left. You can't let that happen, okay? You need to find something that makes you happy, and it can't be related to social media. It can't be something that's temporary in the sense that you can lose it at any given moment. And that applies to lots of things in life. That could apply to a relationship. Of course, it's a really good experience to be with someone, share the same mutual feelings, and have them make you a better person. Makes your life better overall, brings you a lot of love and comfort, right? But the problem is, if you depend on that person too much for happiness and fulfillment, the moment they go away, you will lose those feelings of joy and serenity, and it's all gonna come crashing down because you were too dependent on that person. Almost kind of like a drug addiction, like a high was the only thing that made you feel anything. Once you lost access to those things that were able to get you high, same thing, those feelings of joy completely went away and now you're lost. The main problem with my generation is that we are too dependent on things that are completely outside of us, that have nothing to do with us. You see, instead of looking inside to see what matters to you as an individual, too many young people, they're just so focused on chasing that. They're just so focused on getting that quick reward, that quick dopamine, whether it's within minutes from doom scrolling or taking peptides or anything you can get your hands on to look the way you want to look as fast as you possibly can, even though you're completely sacrificing your health by doing that, and you could probably look just as good if you just went about it naturally and trusted yourself. But because the landscape of influence that's a really good term, right? Has become so toxic. There's no one to look up to. There's nothing to aspire your life off of. All that's gone. All that's been gone. So it's just kind of like an empty void of nothing, without any direction, without any guidance. And on top of the world being in a really bad state in almost every aspect, there's only so much a younger generation can take before they kind of just lose purpose altogether. And I don't mean to sound so morbid. I'm really making this video to try and motivate younger people to try and find purpose in life, to try and find fulfillment before it's too late. You don't want to be in your 30s or in your 40s begging for a time machine, okay? Begging to go back and work hard, begging to go back and make different decisions. That's a very scary place to be in. And I know that's a lot easier said than done. And I'm 23, so it's not like I'm speaking from like any different place than you watching this, okay? I'm probably a similar age than you. But I can't stress enough that you have to use these younger years where you have the most energy, the most enthusiasm of whatever it is you really care about, whatever is passionate to you. You have to use that energy, your soul, to chase what you want to chase and build what you want to build. Regardless of what that may mean to you, a career, moving somewhere, traveling, finding someone, finding a group of people that share the same interest as you and building a community off that, trying to find a way to use your talents to make income so that you can enjoy your life and basically never have to work, going to new places you've never been before, meeting new people. And by the way, those two things, when you do by yourself, it teaches you so much about who you are. And after those type of experiences where you kind of just like nomad style, go wherever you want to go by yourself, you learn so much about yourself when you do that, and that value you'll never be able to lose no matter what you go through in life after. And that's sort of what my generation, I believe, has lost the most, is learning about yourself, because there's so much distraction, there's so much nonsense, and there's so much, let's be honest, roads to nowhere that have the eyes of everyone my age. That's all they want to go towards, like that quick dopamine once again. And I don't know, to me, that's basically the devil's playground. I don't understand why you're flirting with this temporary joy when you know it's going to cost you in the future just for the experience now. Like, you should be thinking long term. And once again, that's another thing my generation has completely lost. And to some extent, you can't really blame us, because when the world is in such a dark place, what future is there? And I don't really, once again, I promise I promise I'm a positive guy. I'm not like dark and depressing and morbid. So I don't mean to sound like that, but it's just like, what do you even expect at this point, you know? No goals at all, no direction, and everything is, how can I get this reward the fastest? How can I get her to like me without putting in any of the work? How can I get the physique of my dreams without doing any work at all? Oh, take this peptide, sign up for this. It's almost like all the good things in life, all the rewards that were supposed to be so fulfilling, have essentially lost what has made them fulfilling to begin with, because you only have value in something when you had to work to get it. And when you didn't have to work to get something, you don't see the value. So we got no goals in life, no desire to have any goals, no inspiration whatsoever, and a constant wave of dopamine that doesn't stop. You were not even meant to consume that much media in one day. Your brain is literally not, it's not supposed to happen. That's not natural. You wake up out of bed, you look at your phone. That is not how a human being was supposed to go about their day and wake up. It's just not natural at all when you really think about it. So that has a lot to do with the direction of where this generation is going. We've essentially merged with all the problems of this current society. At this point, we're starting to identify with the consequences of what this whole disconnect is really doing, okay? Because it makes you detached from yourself. Now, this is kind of my belief, right? But when you lose purpose, you lose your soul. And when you lose your soul, there's no going back. And I personally believe a lot of young people, Gen Z, a lot of us are losing our soul. And like I said, to some extent, you can't really blame them. But also, the day has to come when you have to accept responsibility for the choices you made in your life, and you have to take charge of what you're gonna do after that, okay? Look in the mirror. Because you know what, in the end, okay, this might be pretty controversial to say, but I did mention depression earlier. My personal belief is that depression comes from a lack of options. And when your life isn't going anywhere, you have a lack of options, and that in turn makes you depressed. But none of that ever had to be your life. You're just making decisions that are causing you to have a lack of options. And this is the problem. You're not even aware that this is happening. And when you don't have awareness of this constant state of nothing that you're drowning in, how are you even gonna get out? It's a big problem. It's almost like an identity crisis that our generation is having. And it's getting pretty dark, I'm not gonna lie. But in the darkness, sometimes at your lowest state, you find out what's most important to you, because you realize, wow, if my life was just like this, or if I just had this, or if I could just do this, I would feel so much better. And maybe that's the point we needed to arrive at to finally change the situation. Who knows? That's like the only hopeful thing I can really say at this point regarding the consequences of a whole generation just quitting on themselves, because that's basically what's happening in my opinion. It's not too late to change the situation. If you're watching this and you feel like your life does not represent the values and the ideals that matter to you, and you feel like your life is not what you want, I promise you, it's never too late to change it. It's never too late to turn it around. And this is coming from someone who relates to you, because my life is not where I want it to be right now, but that just motivates me to change it even more. And I think that fire is gone. I think that fire has been put out in a lot of people in our generation, but you can't let that happen to yourself. You can't let the world take away your dreams and your passions just because it's not exactly going your way and it hasn't been easy. Don't compare yourself to other people, because that's the thief of joy. Just focus on yourself and what matters to you. A really good way to put this in perspective that I always ask myself, right? If you spend 3 months, just 3 months, okay, you want to make it even more simpler? You want to make it even more simple, let's say a month. If you spend 1 month using every day, taking steps towards something you really want, you really care about, right? Waking up every day and it's the first thing you do, and a bare minimum of 3 to 4 hours on whatever that thing is, just for 1 month, do you really think you couldn't get there? Are you really that inconfident of yourself and your abilities? Because I don't believe that you are, right? I don't believe that you don't believe in yourself that much, that if you spent a month consistently trying to get what you want, it wouldn't work out. And I genuinely believe that you're either lying to yourself if you don't believe you could do it, or you just have a severe issue with confidence and your self-belief, which also can be changed. It's not too late for that either. But at the end of the day, it's up to you, okay? It's up to you. It's not too late for this generation to change. You can be the example for all of us. You can be the representation of what we can be, the potential that we have. Be that person for our generation. If everyone thought like that, imagine where we'd be together. That's a lot of deep thoughts for this video. I'm a big philosophical type of person, and I kind of want to bring more of that into my content. So if you like this, then subscribe. But thank you so much if you even made it this far. If you're younger like me, I really hope this lights a fire under you to start pursuing the things you want and start taking them really seriously, because you're still young, you have the energy, you have the fire, you have the energy to make this work, and you deserve to make it work. I believe in you. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. And yeah, if there's anything I want you to take from this video at all, I just hope I gave you a lot to think about. See you, YouTube.